everyone, my name is Richie Riz. I'm a New Jersey artist, and today I'll be taking you through my creative process on this painting, and I hope you guys enjoy. At this point, I like to mist the canvas with a little bit of spray paint just to get some reference points, and also to build a little bit of the background, because sometimes once you start laying down paint, it really doesn't allow you to go backwards. And this right here is, I'm using a blow dryer to help dry the paint a little bit faster. Now in this next clip is showing you the reference photos that I picked off the internet. I do not know who that woman is or who took these pictures, but they were great references, so I usually print them out in color so I can see the detail, the shading, the highlights, all that fun stuff. But yeah, I usually print those pictures out, then I merge them together in iPhone app and try to get an idea of what I'm gonna paint. And here I use a white chalk pencil and build a doodle grid. The doodle grid is very important. If you see here, this is a rough sketch. It's lines everywhere, very messy. Again, I was using the reference pictures along with the doodle grid to try to get as close as possible. Once I get the hard lines, the first lines, I don't criticize them too much because it gives me enough reference points to, to work from or to build from. And then I just start chipping away at it. And here, since I am working on a black background and I want to add just grays, whites, a little bit more black, to this. So I start with a dark gray, and then I usually work from dark to light. So I'll start with a little brush strokes here and there, usually places where I want to stick out the most. But as you see here, it's just simple. I really don't know how to call this type of painting style. It's just a way that works for me. Again, I wasn't trying to be like a portrait, like a perfect portrait picture. More of a just painting, just being free with it. Nothing more, nothing less. Also noticing that painting feathers is a talent of its own. There's certain things when you paint that it has to be resemble, like in the owl, the pieces that stick out are definitely like the eyes, the head, and also the feathers, that they're not really as other birds or pigeons over there. So I try to give an effect. I don't usually paint feathers as much, or so I was here. You could see I was playing around trying to see exactly what worked for me. I had to actually step away while I think about how to paint feathers and how to. So I think at this point I'm getting of an idea of how. Here I go again, adding some type of reference points on where I want the highlights, where the shadows will be. Just chipping away at it. Just love what I do. Just love this. Yeah, so I fast forward this video because in reality this painting probably took me about 4 or 5 hours. And I was able to cut it down to at least an hour. So let me see here now. I added a little bit of white to my gray, and got a little bit lighter gray, and I started working on the highlights, where the highlights would be usually at the points I try to sometimes, depends. Not the best artist, of course, but I'll I'll pick a spot on the canvas where it will be like my imagination of where the sun would be, and then I will apply all the highlights to that point, or work against it for the shadows and stuff. So here I pretty much used it like, I believe, somewhere towards the middle, and then I just start working on it, then going back and forth with the reference pictures. Again, I'm just playing with the the feathers and just chipping away at it. At, at this point right here, this is probably where I'm working at the bottom of the canvas, and I didn't really get a good shot from it. Here too, I was confused on how I wanted to approach the woman's head. I didn't want to give her the ponytail as the reference picture because I didn't think it matched with the painting. I was thinking of more like a free, just a face, get all the details in the face, and probably spend more of my energy on the details of the wings, the owl versus her hair. I think one, I painting here is very difficult, and very tedious, and it's just not for me. So I just try to leave it, and maybe I find a more like open feeling to make it a point to be open minded or something like that. Something cheesy you could come up with, and why I don't paint that hair. And by the way, if I haven't said this before, spray paint is definitely my favorite medium. It's just so free. The can control is a little rough, but with practice, a lot of practice, you could get to it. I know a couple of guys that their can control is almost better than me with a pencil. So it's an amazing tool for sure. So I try to use a spray paint on all my paintings, at least once or twice. So it really depends on what I'm doing. And at this point, I kind of figured out how I wanted to approach the feathers. I used the spray paint, and I did it where I sprayed like almost in a down angle, very close to the canvas, which gave it a pretty cool effect. If you see there on the owl, like the body of it, it definitely gave it like some type of feather feeling. Um, if you see this technique, again, I'm not the best, but it's a little technique that kind of worked for me. So then I try to apply that same technique throughout the painting for the owl. Um, Sorry, I don't have a full picture, but that's what I got. Let me know if you guys actually like this, how I'm showing you the process of the painting. Some people care for it. This is why I'm doing it. I've been requested this a lot. They, show us the behind the scenes, or show us. It's just I'm not much of a talker. I'm not much one to show the process, especially that because I do it, you know, this is like a little passion of mine. So it's not something I'll start like recording on purpose. Is I just draw when I get that bug of wanting to paint, and then I zone out. I just put on some music, and the rest is history. Once in a while I remember, oh, let me take a picture. Let me take a process picture, because people like that a lot. But to do it like this when you have your phone or camera recording you for 4 hours is a little uncomfortable to do, because you have to remember about the battery, you have to remember different angle shots. It's just a lot, especially because I do this as it's fun, it's therapy to me. So all that extra stuff makes it almost like a job, and that inspiration or that little zone won't be in full effect if I'm worrying about a camera or trying to remember that content is is key in this game. Here I'm putting more highlights to the already highlighted spots. Again, working from dark to light. I also smear the paint with my finger with the gloves. That's why I wear gloves sometimes. Because sometimes the paint is like too thick or too bright in an area, or too dark in an area. I just needed to kind of give it a little fade. But if you see here, we're getting a little closer. You're starting to see more of the detail and where I'm going. I painted many female faces during this career of mine, so I'm kind of familiar with how it works. First time definitely painting, well, not second time painting an owl, but other than that, it's just fun. Giving highlights, more highlights, more highlights, more highlights. I wish I had white spray paint. I ran out of white spray paint, I think, in my last painting, and I didn't go and buy. I use Michaels, and I also go to Blix Art Supplies. Great stores. Especially Blix has a ton of Montana spray paint. Michaels has more of the, because it's closer to me, but they have more of the acrylics and the canvases that I like to use. Here I use brown. I got like a copper brown for the lips. I always feel like red lips is very seductive. It gives a painting with red lips, like, I don't know. I like what it does aesthetically. Especially that I'm using these dark colors. So I start with the the brown underneath as as a base, and then I'll add the reds and the pinks as and the whites as the painting progresses. Throughout this painting, you'll see like blank stops of me not talking or me not moving. It's probably because adding color, changing brushes, or just taking a step back and just really looking at the painting. At this point, I'm painting the eyes. Of course, owls are famously known for their big eyes, yellows. I know. I think I added a little bit of brown later on, but you know, this is what I meant with and anything you paint, whether it be a face or animal, flower, or whatever, you have to stick to its core identity. You could make it as abstract as possible, However, you have to keep some elements very natural, very the same, so it could so you could tell exactly what you're painting. So yes, look at the body is completely abstract, full. You know, the spray paint, the brush strokes doesn't really look like anything. But as soon as you look at the big yellow eyes, you already know. Oh yeah, that's definitely an owl. And the same with the woman's face. Like the eyelashes are very important. You know, lips. You know, all that stuff. So you have to keep some part of the elements as close as possible. So you know your viewers, your audience, fans, whatever you want to call them, know what they're looking at, and you know that's where the connection comes because they could take the simple yellow eyes, a wild owl, and then they'll just roll into something else. Oh, owl is my favorite animal. Owl is this, so it becomes this whole thing. And here you see how the brown base underneath that red really grabbed the red and gave it this nice plump look. Um, nice and very vibrant as well. So now it's all compliments. And the brown underneath the red also played a little bit of shadow into the lips, a little bit of texture. So it all comes together at the end. These are all techniques I learned doing this since I was like at least 10 years old. Painting, you know, same thing. Regardless of your medium, whether it be acrylic, spray paint, crayons, colored pencils, markers, at the end of the day, it all comes back, you know, together somehow. Right here is where I use black because the spray paint might have oversprayed or some lines I don't like it. I want to like clean it up a little bit. This is what I did. Give it a little bit of shadow. I didn't need the black to be that dark. I was struggling with the nose. The look of the nose was like bothering me the whole time. It looked too round. Again, this is not a final product, so you know, trust the process, like I always say. Here, just giving some highlights where it belongs. Eyebrow. But if you see, it's slowly comes together, slowly, more and more and more. See here, I needed a little bit of black, but not too much. So I would dab a little bit of paint and then wipe it off, and then gives it a nice little technique. This too is very, very important when painting eyes, and which is probably the hardest part because you don't want your owl or your female faces looking with a lazy eye or crooked eyes, and it just takes away the proportions. It becomes a nightmare. So drawing pupils, eyes, make sure they're right. Use rulers, use tape, use the doodle grid, use whatever you could to get it right because the head could be distorted, but the eyes need to remain. And that's my opinion personally. So I don't know. Just if you see too, I'm always going back and forth to the reference pictures, seeing where the highlights are, seeing where the shadows are, seeing if there's any big improvements that need to be made. But you see where we're definitely moving along here. I do sell all my art. I also get a lot of commissions, but yes, I, I don't know why, but I don't have that like that deep artist connection with a painting. Like I know a lot of artists that will paint and they don't want to show it to people. They don't want to sell it. They don't even want people taking pictures of it. I really don't have that connection with it. My connection is the process, and once it's done for me. I don't need 1,000 canvases laying around in my house or my art studio or in storage. I feel better that it was a great moment for me. Here, got a better angle. But I feel that once I complete a painting, I give it to the world, and maybe it means something more to somebody else than it did for me. Um, I had one collector. I drew a lion, and I'm not gonna say her name, but she brought the painting off of me because it was a deep connection that her father had to lions and what he does and what he represents and all that other stuff. It was a great conversation I had with the young lady, and unfortunately he passed away. So imagine, that painting meant more for her, whether it was the color combination, besides it just being a line, because she could have brought a line anywhere, but whether it be the color combination, size, or the moment that it was, and when I painted it, when I posted it, it connected with her more than me just having it in storage. So that's why I don't mind selling. I don't mind letting my paintings go, because my moment is when I'm painting it. That zone that I block the whole world out, and I'm just painting for those 3 4 hours. That's my moment. That's my time. That's my connection. And then what happens after that is, it's okay. And at this point, too, I used this little fan brush. Barely ever used it. There I go. I barely ever use it. Um, I've seen Bob Ross use it a bunch of times, but when I went back, I sat back and looked at the reference picture. I noticed that the feathers were like like very thin lines, like a like hair almost on an owl. So then, of course, I didn't know how to do this with any other paintbrush that I had. I was like, this is gonna be a nightmare. It's gonna take me forever. Until I realized that I forgot that I had this tool. And I don't know what it's called. I know I've seen Bob Ross use it a bunch of times, making little perfect trees or whatever. But I started using this tool, and it gave it such a great. I think this is the piece that I needed, um, to really finish this off. This owl, it gives it exactly what it needed. It just worked perfectly, like exactly where, like, around the eyes, right there on the face. Like, this was a great tool for feather. I would definitely recommend it. You gotta keep, you can't keep too much paint on it, because then it becomes like almost like a regular brush, but if very light, and then you fan it on the canvas, it really gives it a nice texture. And you can see here, it's just definitely coming together. It's working perfectly, giving exactly the look I was going for, especially on top of the textures that I gave it below it. It worked out perfect. I mean, you see it here. It definitely looks like a better owl. Here I go again, moving camera. See, this is the part that I say that I'm so cautious with having to move, get angles, get close-ups. sometimes when you're just in the zone, you don't really want to worry about that stuff. Don't know exactly what I'm doing here, but probably changing brushes, getting restocking my paint. I'm going with black now. Nostril. Again, the nose been bothering me. Inside the mouth. Very small brush. Small details where, you know, get in between the ear. It's great. I suggest anybody that has some type of talent or their own little muse, I suggest you use it and you do it to your full potential. Um, it's very soothing, it's very relaxing, and it's very rewarding, especially, if it comes out exactly how you imagined it, or if it comes out better. Here I'm using some highlights. It was too much white. And throughout the picture, I touched these lips up like 10 times at least. It's all about experimenting, trying, going back, leaving it alone, moving somewhere else. It's just being free. I worked on another painting that's very similar to this type of the style, um, and I did white eyes with no eyeball, no color, and I loved it. Gave it a real nice ghosty goddess, like, I don't know, look. So I just redid that here. Highlights, small highlights that make a big difference. Here I'm doing a little trademark that I've been doing in a lot of my pictures, especially portraits. Gives it this very like computer technology. I don't even know, like white squares. You'll see. I apply it. If you're familiar with all my other work, you see that I do use it a lot too. Create my own little style. Again, I'm still figuring out while I'm painting, doing everything else. Still trying to figure out what I'm gonna do to that hair, that space. That's a lot of dead space there, um, and I just want to make sure I use it wisely. And I apologize for any of that dead space, um, where I'm not doing anything to the canvas. Again, I try to fast forward it as much as I can without taking too much away from it. But it's probably just me, changing brushes, cleaning the brushes, changing color, adding more color to my palette, um, or just standing back and just thinking of what I'm gonna do next. Here I'm using a paint marker. Give it these nice little blocks that I've been using a lot. Eyelashes. Yeah, I'm not too sure what I want to call these little blocks. Yeah, that I've been adding to almost all my pictures, but I do like the what how it, what it gives to the painting. very subtle, like a little bit here and there. Here I'm just looking for empty spaces where I'll need it. Not too many, just enough. Not too big, small, filling in where it needs to. Then I go to the owl and I apply the same thing. I know the beak is very important. I struggled here a little bit, but I believe at the end they all came together. Because the beaks they have some type of texture, and to be honest, it's too much. I googled it, and it's too much detail for me to paint or want to paint. I'm not that crazy. Again, this is fun for me, and I think painting all those small little details would have drove me nuts, and we're not here to do that. Again, here, applying paint. If it's too heavy for the location, then I'll just pass my finger through it, and small little highlights, detail, give it. But if you see it, so there I go again with those blocks. I don't know where I got that from. I know I started when I was painting the female paintings that I've done, where I took people would submit their pictures to me via Instagram, and I would just choose whichever one felt to me. And if I chose the person, I asked them what color they would like the painting, and if I liked it, then I would use them as reference, of course, with their permission. And then once the painting's done, I would send them a print of the finished picture. I believe I did somewhere around 10 of that. It's on Instagram. Again, working again on that beak. Like, I try to give it the look of it being textured, but not so overwhelming to myself. So I just did the back and forth with the black, the white, the gray. It's layers on layers until it actually came out right. Make sure it doesn't get lost with the rest of the face. This is all it is. It's just trial and error, trial and error. Never really drew a owl like this before, so good experience. Probably standing back, looking at it, trying to figure out. Oh, got some white. I actually like working better like this, where paintings are not perfect, because I believe it just takes away so much, expectation from myself, and as well as from the viewers. I picked it for me, so you know if I'm happy with how it looks, then that's what it is. So this perfectly imperfect technique way of painting that I do, I find it so much better for me. Um, it takes a lot of pressure off. Again, always try to get as close as possible, especially when it's like a face or animal, because it's very important that it keeps its features, like I said earlier. But it doesn't have to be perfect, and I think that is more important than trying so hard to be perfect. If you're that type of artist, props to you. You're talented, gifted. Your patience is amazing. But here more little highlights. More white is always like my favorite. Also, that it also signifies that you're almost coming to the end, because white is usually the last. It's just the highlights, so it's usually applied last. There are more techniques with the brush, trying to make feathers look like feathers. I know this is such a bad angle. I gotta work on my camera skills, guys. Sorry. More highlights, more little small details. Again, reference picture. What is that? Where does that belong? And then at this point, I actually figured out what I was gonna do. I was not gonna paint the hair of the woman. I forgot to change the camera because I was so into the zone. So I remembered that I had a picture, another picture of a different owl that that I could use for that space if I just paint it smaller. So this was a last minute call, but it worked out perfectly in the final result. But I pretty much freehanded it. It wasn't hard. The face was very simple. I have like this long face, long nose, long beak or something. But yeah, see, right now it's definitely rough. But yeah, this was like a last minute call. You know, what am I gonna do with that space? I don't know what to do with that space. I didn't want to do the hair, and I didn't want to. So yeah, this is the reference picture I used, which worked out perfect. See, sometimes you got to make these last minute calls because it's not always all gonna be there when you start the painting. So at this point, I knew the girl's face was done. The bigger owl was just about done. And here I was just trying to match this owl to the rest of the painting, which was a little rough because at this point I'm like, okay, I'm almost done. What's the finishing touches? So it's almost like I had to start all over again, just with this owl, which was a little annoying. But after after the sketch is down, now it's just about coloring. So uh, you know, and highlights. Again, the face was I don't even know what they're called. I have to Google it. Putting highlights, which I actually did this wrong. I'm supposed to do the dark first. I'm drawing the other wing. Yeah, see, it's never ending. It's never gonna be perfect, and it's never gonna be right. Just have fun with it. I was originally gonna put a crown on her, um, but I didn't know which crown to use. I didn't want to go for a real crown. I was actually gonna paint a Basquiat crown, but then I felt like it didn't really match the painting. So, no, here I'm doing shadows. So I struggled with that space. Like, look at all that space. I was able to paint a whole another owl in that space. So in the beginning, it was driving me nuts. Uh, it's all shadow. A lot of going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. The stuff that they don't tell you. A lot like the gym. I go to the gym a lot, and I remember in the beginning they're like, yeah, all you have to do is work out. But once you're invested into it and you make it a lifestyle, then you realize that it's not just about working out. It's about everything else. It's just as important, if not more. Especially when it comes to eating, the foods that you're consuming, and also the rest, and how you break down your workouts and when you change it up, how to change it up, especially that, like me, I go to the gym at least 5, 6 times a week, and I'm so stuck in my ways. We're humans, so we we're creatures of habit. So I'm ready to have this workout. I'll do my push-ups, guaranteed. I'll do my pull-ups. So it's really hard to just be like, you know what? I'm just gonna forget my push-ups, pull-ups, and just start completely different because I'm so used to the other way, and the other way has worked for me. So and I enjoy the other process. So yeah, there's always more to it. It's just the best thing to do is start. I love going to the gym. I love painting. I enjoy my space, and fortunately, both of those hobbies are require a lot of your space. So so it works out for me. It's something I really do enjoy. You see here now I'm cutting the shade with a little bit of highlights, and you see now it's coming closer and closer together. Yeah, those were the worst legs I ever drew in my life. Picking away at the owl, small owl. I gotta get the name of these owls. It's such a bad video. angle's bad. My talking is not the best. This is my first one, so bear with me. Maybe there'll be more, maybe not, but let's see. Been asked for this video for a long time. Now that I look back at it, I understand, because the process is very fascinating. Again, the eyes are very important. This face was very difficult for some reason, especially it didn't have a lot of textures. Not textures, I'm sorry. It didn't have a lot of definition. It was flat, long. I feel like I struggled with this face more than I did with the other face. So just working away from shadows and fixing the face. This part was I think it was at the point of the painting, maybe, because I used all my energy and creative juices, I guess, throughout the rest of the painting. At this point, I was like, what am I gonna do in the space? So, oh, there I go again. With the fan brush, like I said, it worked out perfectly, and it gives it this nice texture that it went completely with the rest of the painting. If you see, it's very little paint on the brush. And it's just about fanning it, hitting the canvas very light. Back with black, erase some spaces that I didn't like, especially on that face. See. Getting there. Thank you guys for joining me on this and being patient. Highlights. Like I said, white is always my favorite. See, now we're getting to the end of the painting when these little details, final details get put on. I'm just filling spaces where there's eyesores. Very fun painting. Came out exactly how I wanted it to. I believe I used a spray paint again to add one of my signature moves that I do to just about every canvas that I've done. And there goes a backup picture. Yeah, see the dripping dot. a little bit of miss in areas where it's like too perfect. I do the dripping dots as a reminder, or giving homage to spray paint. It's where I began with this art world. I was never canvas, you know. It was all about, you know, spray paint on walls and tag names. And that's where Riz comes from. So it's just my little homage to spray paint, and I like the way it gives it that artist graffiti type of vibe. That it's not, you know, it's not only canvas art. It's also, it was hit with a little bit of graffiti. So this is pretty much last shots. I sat on this painting for a day after this, and I kept on looking at it, and I was like, there's something missing. There's color. It needs a little bit more color. I didn't know what to do. So I did this technique for another painting, and it worked out. So I just applied it here. I was struggling with which color to add. I chose yellow because it complemented the owl's eyes, but that part too, I was very like not too sure, because you know yellow is a very, you know, difficult color to work with. So I just added here and there. Use painter tape. Doesn't affect any other. Um, yeah. See, I didn't let it dry. Just ripped off that tape. But yeah, I just added these little accent lines, spray paint lines, to make the painting pop a little bit. Yeah, see that yellow paint dripped everywhere. I had to go back, touch it up. I didn't even get a paintbrush. I just used my finger to get to where it's at. You saw how you don't need a paintbrush to be a painter. Anyways, this is the final shot. I call this one Forever. It meant a lot to me with the owls, lady's face, and just everything that I do. Thank you for joining me. My name is Richie Riz, and I'm out.